Unkut from Nunavut, Knut here from Iqaluit. What you can hear in the background is the snow scrunching under my feet because it's a chilly night here. And that's the noise that snow makes under rubber boots when it's, I don't know, minus 20 maybe. Feels warmer though. Anyway, it's blowing ice crystals, which is not quite the same as snow. It almost looks like under a streetlight there's kind of like a thin mist of bits of glass or something falling. It's really pretty remarkable. Anyway, there's a snowmobile coming. Oh, there he goes. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm headed back to Nunavut Arctic College residences. It is 10 o'clock at night and I have just come from roughly 4 hours of community consultations for the next stage of the South Baffin caribou kind of planning process. Listening to Iqaluit talk about where caribou are and helping to design the next stage of the aerial survey that the government of Nunavut will carry out this spring. So an exciting meeting to be at. Probably 25 of us all told in the parish hall, taking turns speaking and then sitting and discussing around a newly created map that the government of Nunavut just put together that knocks the socks off the aeronautical charts that I use in my discussions with people, but at a similar scale actually. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, very interesting meeting. A lot of different opinions about how best caribou surveying should be carried out and how best to incorporate the local knowledge holders and the hunters and trappers organizations and associations of the various South Baffin communities. Interestingly, this next stage of the survey will include ground surveys, which is a pretty neat development. The last survey that went on in 2012 was kind of partial. There were actually two different components flown, North and South Baffin. They kind of divvied it up. And in this next survey in the spring, they're actually going to fly the whole island over the course of a few weeks, which is nothing short of a gargantuan undertaking. But part of this meeting was to kind of divvy up the area that they got to cover into various stratas and decide sort of where there are more or less caribou and that kind of thing, which is a really interesting approach, and it's one I'm glad they're taking because it certainly is the case that for the South Baffin anyway, there are large areas where Nunavut are consistently saying there are far fewer animals than others. And the meeting was also really interesting because people were talking about a lot of the same kind of concepts that have been coming up in my work, which is great. It's always gratifying to hear that, you know, what you're finding jives with what other people are finding. But really interesting to hear people talk about these key zones. I think what a wildlife biologist would probably call refugia, where animals are consistently found. Oh, another snowmobile. They're noisy machines, but they do leave a nice hard packed trail to walk on. Anyway, so that refugia concept I think is a really important one for caribou surveys and kind of studying animals in general. It's clear that there are certain areas that people consistently find caribou when there are shortages elsewhere. So it'll be really interesting to see what this upcoming survey finds in that regard. Yeah, so I'll sign off now, but it's been a great day here in Iqaluit. Very quiet for the most part. It's the weekend. Kind of snowy, ice crystal-y, you know. Not great visibility, so I don't think a lot of people went out hunting, and folks were saying the turnout at the meeting was low because there's a hockey game on, which is sort of the way things are. But anyway, an exciting meeting, very interesting day. Looking forward to more of the same tomorrow. That's all from me here in Iqaluit.